Me, Erie County Council, comes to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carol, we have an optional prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. With a spirit-filled thought, we lovingly move to do the tasks we are charged with. We are responsible for others and their lives. We reach out to the youth and adults and share blessings that we hope will be used to change the rest of their lives for the best. We would spread the word to have help given to those in need and to choose faithfulness rather than creed. We see signs of change and seek it to move in the right direction. We come here tonight to understand other views and to lead in the best direction for most. We have grown to care and to hope that we serve well each time we have the opportunity. God, move us to not use others for our gain and to their end, but may we be responsible and represent each other properly. We ask this in the name of our Savior. Amen.
Roll call.
Mr. Anderson,
Here.
Mrs. Fatika,
Here.
Dr. Faust,
Here.
Mr. Horton,
Here.
Mrs. Lull,
Here.
Mr. Rastatter,
Here.
Chairman Leon.
Here. In the hearing of the public, anyone that's called in will receive 5 minutes. Any other after that will receive 3 minutes. Randy Barnes. Leave it, Randy. Should I get that microphone?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mix me up. Change me around.
Good evening, council, guests. My name is Randy Barnes, and I'm from District 5. I thought I'd take a few moments tonight to discuss the update on the Northwest Pennsylvania Regional College. As we know, it's completely funded by all 66 counties in Pennsylvania, including the 56 that don't have a regional college, and many of those don't have a community college. So we're fortunate to have this completely funded. It is operating. Just across the street, the Palumbo Center, there are 2 student success specialists from the Northwest Pennsylvania Regional College. If you decide to attend the college, you are assigned to one of those specialists. And as the need grows, they will add more specialists. But though you are assigned to one of those specialists to help guide you as to where you need to go, what you need to be done, the best thing for your situation. The Northwest Pennsylvania Regional College has been working very much so with the ERMP, that's the Erie Regional Manufacturing Partnership, a group of manufacturers that got together a few years ago, went after apprentice programs, and they've been working with the NPRC on workforce development, actually for the past year. They've already designed programs, training programs for local manufacturers that can take people that have no manufacturing, no job shop, no machine shop experience whatsoever, and get them a quick start so they can be hired on and be productive right away. So the NPRC they're doing what they need to do, I believe, and I think they're doing a great job of it. They just need more, they need more participants. It's like, I keep telling people, it's like the best kept secret that we have in Northwest Pennsylvania is the NPRC. I think it's good to sometimes go back and look at where we've come from just in the past 2 years. Of course, the NPRC is up and running and doing a fine job. But 2 years ago, I took a look at the Empower May 8, 2017 study. I looked at page 2. In page 2, under headlines, it says the Erie community strongly supports establishment of a community college. Now, how things change in just 2 years, because in August, we asked the state for $15,000 so we could promote the community college, and our good friends down the street today said they would give us another $300,000, because obviously in 2 years, something's changed. The Erie County community doesn't strongly support it, quite like they did 2 years ago, do they? The very next statement under headlines was, in the absence of a community college, local groups such as the Erie Regional Manufacturing Partnership are trying to fill the gap. However, none can address existence. Well, that's awfully false too. In 2 years, the Erie Regional Manufacturing Partnership has jumped in, feet first, taken this opportunity that all the taxpayers in Pennsylvania are paying for, and utilizing those resources. Good for them. Good for those people. Don't wait for government to do it for you. Don't wait for the county to create a community college and build an $11 million building. Oh, let me talk about buildings for just a moment. I was so embarrassed that the administration would send Gary Lee up to a building and say, look what we've done. We haven't maintained the roof. Pat us on the back and let us tear the building down. It's got a good boiler, good heating system. Air conditioners don't work, but obviously you have to cycle condensers year round. You can't let air conditioning condensers sit for a year or two. So embarrassing as it is, the administration sends Gary Lee up there and says, look at what we've done. Look how we manage facilities. Give us a community college. Give us an $11 million building. Dr. Faust, you were right. That was a deal breaker. That was a poison pill when they wanted you to vote yes to go down and say we want an $11 million building. I think that was a design by council and the Empower and the people said, let's design it so they absolutely won't work with us. So we have an excuse to go out and get our own community college. Because this NPRC, it's already down the road. It's moving, it's a train going, and we don't want to get on it because we want our own train. Because these people that run the Northwest Pennsylvania Regional College, they've had years and years and years of experience.
Randy,
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
thank you. By the way, I didn't know for sure whether you had 5 minutes or not. This thing isn't working. But it's got to be close.
5 minutes and 3 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Point 17.
That sounds good. Anyone else wish to be heard? Please step up, give us your name and
Rita Yannion. I'm a resident of Mill Creek Township in Erie County.
3
I'd,
minutes.
I'd like to, I appreciate Council's expression of thanks to the members of AFSCME Local 2666, of which I am president, after the completion of negotiations with the county. However, I need to let you know that as far as the police associates' pay study and salary schedule goes, you are sold a bum bill of goods. How many of you would buy a car, a home, or even choose a spouse based on words on a page? I'll go out on a limb and say none of you. Why? Because you need to research the car. You need to have a look at the home, its foundation, make sure it's solid. Meet the person, get to know them, and find out if they're a dog person or a cat person. Why then did the county pay thousands of the taxpayers' dollars for the study to place workers who are vital to the everyday operations of the county based on words on a piece of paper? At no time did anyone from Police and Associates shadow or even interview any of the workers to actually see what they do or what their jobs entail. The study and grade placement rewarded people hired within the last 2 years handsomely. As an example, I have 17 years in with the county. A coworker of mine, just over a year. The percentage increase for pay this year for me was just over 3%. For my coworker, almost 30. To where I make just over $1 more an hour than my coworker does. In another department, workers hired within the last 2 years who have the opportunity to achieve certifications will elevate to a rate of pay above those with more service and have the same certifications because the recognition now being handed out was not rewarded to those with a history with the county. In contrast, there's another department where employees who carry rank within the department are paid less than those who don't. Responsibility and experience in any position was not recognized in this study at all, and it leaves a lot of people bitter with the pill we were forced to take. We were told during negotiations that if we felt we could do better in other employment, we were welcome to seek other employment. Sadly, many workers have done so, and in no department is that any more evident than public safety. Since the beginning of this year, that department has lost 16 workers, most of those in the last 90 days. It requires 18 workers to cover a shift. Let that sink in. That's almost a whole shift lost. Couple these frustrations with the addition of positions in non-bargaining departments at beginning salaries of close to $40,000 a year, county council voting themselves a 10% pay raise in a single year, Elected officials reporting to the media that budgets are increasing due to wages and the finger being pointed at the bargaining unit workers, many of whom have second jobs or are eligible for public assistance because their salaries don't pay them a living wage. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy I have a job. I'm happy I saw a pay increase this year and ensured a pay increase each and every of the next 3 years. But forgive me if I don't offer boundless thanks in return. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Julie Gillespie and I reside in the city of Erie, but I teach in the Harbor Creek School District. And I'm here today, excuse me, when you opened with prayer, that's why I'm here today. It's in reference to the opioid epidemic and mental health. We're losing, 1 in 3 families are affected by the epidemic. And, you ask yourself, what can be done? I'm here to personally invite each and every one of you. County Executive Del Kemper is attending the consortium in the Harbor Creek School District on November 14th. And as a mom with a child, 2 children who have overcome the odds are going to be there as well. But as a family, we've learned some things that are wrong in the system that I believe each and every one of you, if you can't personally do something about it, you know somebody on the legislative level that can make change. The prison, the Erie County Prison, that is privately owned, has some issues. It was never meant to be a detox facility. And just as this meeting has been taking place, on average, in an hour, 8 individuals across this country die from the epidemic. I've personally buried 6 former students. So I'm here to personally invite you. Again, one of the issues that I would like to give you information about, not tonight, I know I only have 3 minutes, is involuntary commitment. With the whole debate of Narcan, that interruption of usage, the likelihood that someone's going to use again once they've been given Narcan is very high. There needs to be an interruption. Other states like Florida are implementing involuntary commitment, where somebody, a family member or a medical professional, can make that individual stay for treatment, because when there is an interruption of usage for a period of time, the statistics for recovery go up. There's also patient brokering that we weren't aware of that goes on, where our kids in this community are recruited to go to other states and given incentives to go find other addicts, and that whole system is broken. There also needs to be more halfway houses here in the city and in Erie County, and other viable options presented to people. And really the only reason I'm coming forward, again, personally, but we need to break the silence and the stigma. And as a family, we've been judged, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to give voice for every individual who has lost the battle, who's going through the battle. And anyway, that's where I'm going to stop. I have a flyer. I can email it. I have them for each and every one of you. But if you come that evening, at least there'll be a start. If you're not familiar, I hope that you're not familiar and you don't know somebody personally. But given time, you will. And I appreciate your time, each and every one of you. I appreciate what you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pat Lupo. I live at 355 East 9th, and I'm a member of the Benedictine Sisters of Erie. I'm the co-chair of both HECA, Hold Erie Coke Accountable, and PLUA, the Pennsylvania Lake Erie Watershed Association. I work with kids at the Neighborhood Art House and the Johnny Horan Garden Apartments. I do education and advocacy work for the Benedictine Sisters. I'm here this evening to ask you to support Melissa Lyon and her staff's transition to Public Health 3.0. This will be a major upgrade, but one that is acutely necessary. Public Health 3.0 emphasizes cross-sector collaboration and environmental policy and system-level actions that directly affect the social determinants of health. We know that the continued use of traditional public health strategies are increasingly ineffective. If we want healthier communities and cleaner environments, we need to move to new, effective, non-traditional strategies. We need to move to Public Health 3.0. Members of HECA, Hold Erie Koch Accountable, and the general public have been frustrated by the lack of the Erie County Departments of Health Environment in the Erie Koch issue, as well as in other local environmental health issues, and their inability to provide public health impact studies and data. I am asking you this evening to support the 2020 Erie County Department of Health budget in totality. It is an investment in our community and demonstrates collaboration with philanthropic and community groups. I want our Erie County Department of Health to align with the National 21st Century Public Health Model and the Commonwealth's Health Innovation in Pennsylvania Plan. In order to build capacity, to work with community partners, validate data collection and analysis, to be proactive in addressing public environmental health issues, the Erie County Department of Health must transition to Public Health 3.0, and this 2020 budget is a step that must be taken. Again, I am asking you to support the 2020 Erie County Department of Health budget in totality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, gentle councilmen, gentle council ladies, and honorable electors. I rise in support of the Department of Health's budget request. I would like to inform you, let you know, that the number one question I get as a HECA member is, where is our Department of Health on this? How come there aren't some statistics? Where are the studies? Where's the input? And then I have to tell them, well, that's not something that's funded within their budget right now. Also, I'd like to let you know, you may realize that Judge Beckman, in a recent ruling, said that one of the things that he found was the DEP's pronouncements in court were not backed up by health studies. And of course, we can't put that all on the Department of Health, but we have nothing here. And I was very surprised to see that there's been nothing done. But now we're informed that there's an opportunity to fulfill those issues for environmental studies, et cetera, if we're able to have something that funds that request. I want to call back to resolution number 20 that you did back in May, urging the Commonwealth and the county governments to support the Erie County Department of Health's pursuit for the 21st century public health model. So that's something that you already put a resolution into the state, reminding them this is something that you stand already in support of. So I'd like you to consider it. I'd like you to fully fund it and to make sure that we can move forward as a community in all aspects of our health and well-being. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, County Council members. My name is Janice Etchison. I'm also a member of HECA. I live on Joshua Drive in Harbor Creek and have been involved with the group Hold Erie Koch Accountable since the very beginning of it, which was about August of last year. But I feel that our efforts have been very productive so far in that people have heard what we've had to say about the issues, about the pollution in the atmosphere, especially in the area closest to the Koch plant, which is called an environmental justice area. Poorer people do live there, and we know that people at lower incomes usually are forced to live in areas with more pollution. And so I urge you to support what Melissa Lyons said, I think she addressed you last night about her plan, to pursue the Pennsylvania Department of Health Data to Action Grant. because this is the next critical step to meeting accreditation requirements of data collection, analysis, and dissemination to community partners, leaders, and decision makers. We have to pay attention to health studies. We have to be aware of them. She's talking about data collection, support, providing someone who could help us, Becca, to... Okay, thank you very much. Please support Melissa Lyons.
Any other citizens which can be heard?
Hi, Elspeth Cayley, 1232 West 11th Street. I just wanted to say thank you to those of you who voted to let the inmates at the Erie County Prison keep their money, although it didn't work out in their favor. I guess I'm kind of here representing Erie County United because we support criminal justice reform, and we feel like this is a part of that. You know, the people in the prison get money put on their books so they can use it for things they need while they're on the inside, and to take, you know, a great portion of that money and give it right back to the county. I don't know. I just I feel like it's not the right thing to do. I could see it more of a 50-50 split, but to take 75% of it is a little extreme. So I just once again want to thank those of you who voted to let them keep their money. Thank you.
Any other citizens which can be heard?
Hi there, folks. My name is Sydney Zimmerman. I'm a concerned citizen that happens to live at 413 West 9th Street here in the city. I too am speaking on the issue of taking money from people's accounts in the prison to offset costs for the prison. You know, I read an article about this issue, and it left me with more questions than answers, frankly. And one thing that stood out to me was the fact that it is to help offset the debt of the prison for providing for things like housing or medical care, which frankly, to my knowledge, I thought was already supposed to be provided to prisoners. I wasn't aware that they had to pay for those things while they were incarcerated. But at the end of the article, it does say that it will exacerbate the debt issue to not collect the fees from the prisoners, and that other prisons tend to charge much higher fees for services than what Erie County Prison does. But, you know, I think this is a great moment to stop and reflect on the private prison system and take a look and see if we are being charged fair prices for these services, and not just worry about, oh, how are we going to pay for them, but should we be paying these high prices? And should people who are going to have to leave the prison and try to start again, should they have to incur this much debt? And if the debt is really an issue, then maybe that's something that we need to look more into rather than just punishing prisoners further who we're hoping to rehabilitate and get back on into the community and be, you know, sources of change, you know, in their own lives and in their communities. Should we be punishing them by taking their money away before they even get their hands on it while they're trying to rehabilitate themselves? And also, you know, I'm sure it does, you know, keep family members at bay a little bit more, and, you know, it does not help to uplift somebody's spirits who are expecting to come back into the community and be a rehabilitated person. So I do want to thank the members who voted to reduce the percentage that is taken from commissary accounts. And I'm hoping that we can reduce it down to 50%, if not 25%. Thank you, Andre.
Good evening, Council. I'm Martha Wachuku, resident of the City of Erie, 711 Myrtle Street. I'm here in support of my coworkers and the council members who voted to reduce the fee taken out of incarcerated people's what is given to them from their families. I think it was the right step in this climate where we're trying to fight the prison industrial complex and also trying to see incarcerated people as more human and complex individuals with different struggles, and understanding that the purpose of the prison system is to rehabilitate. So anything we can do to help that, I believe we should do. Again, I want to commend the council members who did vote for that. And understanding that these prisoners, whether it's here in the county or at the Albion prison or anywhere else in the state, that whether it's making a call or emailing, that they're being charged back and forth, and that these people are supposed to be growing from their time and learning from their time, and we should not be making profit off of them. So I just want to again commend you, and I hope to see more things like this coming from the county, and the county being leaders on this issue being mass incarceration. Thank you.
Any other citizens to be heard? Seeing none. And we have the minutes from the previous meeting approved.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Faust, seconded by Councilman Anderson. You ready for the question?
On the minutes, Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Fatika,
Yes.
Dr. Faust,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mrs. Lahl,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter.
Yes. Item 6, any reports from county officials, any report from the county executive or her designee?
Not tonight, Mr.
Next will be our finance chair. Your report from the finance committee, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on October 10th, and we present for tonight's agenda under old business, item A, and under new business, items A, C, D, and G. And that concludes my report with finance, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel Committee, Ms.
Yes.
Fatika.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Personnel Committee also met on October 10th, and we agreed to place under old business items B, E, and F for tonight. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Fatika. Are there any other reports from members of council? I believe Councilman Anderson, you have a report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we all come from different walks of life, different ethnic backgrounds, but the one thing is that we all make up our community. And this past week, we lost 3 members of our community that spent their lifetime here and dedicated their life in believing in our community, their families, and the place in which they called home. And so I'm proud to stand forward with the rest of my colleagues of council as we have put forth citations, and I'm not going to read them in their entirety tonight, but I would ask that they be placed into the record, and I would present the names of these 3 folks. And that's Robert Kaczynski, who was a lifelong resident of Erie, a teacher, an educator, a coach, and I have to say, a friend and mentor to me, and he will be missed sadly. Also, this past week, Patty DeCara Tullio passed away. She too was an educator. She was a congressional aide to Congressman Tom Ridge, and later worked for the Department of Revenue. Patty was somebody who was full of life, who loved her family, and just had an infectious smile and a wonderful personality. She will also be missed. And lastly, Gloria Sennett, who was also an educator and
raised her family here in Erie, marrying her husband, Ed Sennett, and coming and adopting Erie as her hometown, living the rest of her life here, and someone who was dedicated to our community, and she will certainly be sadly missed. And so on behalf of all of us here, myself and my colleagues, we remember them, and we will send this remembrance to each of these families and have their memory placed in the official record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Richardson. Let's move on to old business. Mr. Smith, you have
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I have another report I'd like to give.
yes.
Thank you. This evening, I'd like to give an update to the activities of the Community College Committee, of which Councilman Horton and I serve, and County Council put into place by passing Resolution 30. The activities that have occurred in our community since the resolution was passed have been phenomenal in nature. We have moved from decades of attempting to have a community college here in Erie County to then this council having the courage in 2017 to step forward and be the sponsor for an Erie County Community College. And we even explored the opportunity to partner in what we believe should be and would be a fair and equal partnership with other institutions in this community. After a long, hard deliberation, lots of work by many, many people, hours of dedication by many, many people to this effort, it was decided that we would go on our own route and go back to the community college application and focus solely on that. This council once again stood up with courage and resolve to pass Resolution 30 in a 5-2 vote to say we believe in the citizens of Erie and Erie County. We believe in the future of this community, and we believe in the opportunities that thousands of members of this community deserve to have a chance to participate in and have the opportunities to have better lives, as we have found we have been able to achieve through education. Our resolve is that we will not stop fighting for this community until a community college is achieved, and our application has been brought out of the subcommittee and voted on by the Board of Education. The good news is, as I report to my colleagues tonight, is much progress has been made since we passed Resolution 30. Most of us have seen the articles in the paper. We've seen the activity in the news. But I don't think any of us can imagine the amount of work that has gone on and the focus of this community to say once and for all that we know we are now on the correct path in seeking to have our college application brought out to a vote. I am proud to announce today that the Erie Community Foundation, the philanthropic community, the heart of this community, has stepped forward with a $300,000 grant to empower Erie and the Erie County Community College Committee to keep this fight going and to reaffirm our support in this community, which is broadening every day from business and manufacturing leaders to educators, captains of industry, to professionals, members of labor unions, and the thousands and thousands of people that we represent who are looking to us for hope that they may have a better future in this community. I feel very confident and strongly that we will achieve these goals. We need to enlist the powerful support of Governor Wolf. Governor Wolf has stepped forward in making a statement that he supports community college education, and I believe that Governor Wolf will make even stronger statements as we continue to move forward. We need to therefore continue this fight and take it on to Harrisburg to show that we are united as a community, as the administration, this council, and Empower Erie have shown. One united voice, and taking that to Harrisburg to let them know that Erie, once and for all, has a purpose, and that our purpose is singular in nature, and that is to have a community college right here in Erie County. We will continue to move forward. I know that the resolve of my committee members, towards which Councilman Horton is one and Mr. Jim Sparber here tonight is another. We continue to work on behalf of the entire administration, the rest of this council, and the community to continue to move this critical element of any progress and success that our community can achieve in the future. This linchpin of all of that, the development that's happening. We continue to move that forward, and our resolve is to not stop until we've had a positive outcome with the Department of Education and the Board of Education. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. Are there any other reports from members of council? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Mr. Smith now for reading of ordinance number 63. Possible veto override.
Mr. Chairman, action on this particular item comes in the form of a motion. Yeah.
Do I have a motion to veto override?
So moved.
Second. It's been properly moved by Councilman Anderson, seconded by Councilman Ratstead. Any discussion? Any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make some comments before we take our vote tonight. You know, it's not easy to understand the vast amount of things that happen here in Erie County government. What we do on council and what the professionals that work for Erie County do every day is affect the lives of all of us that live here in Erie County. And sometimes we do some really good things, and sometimes we do some things that we question, or perhaps we overreach, or perhaps we may need to change. In this instance, I think this is one of those cases. All across this country, prison reform is taking shape, and the tide is changing to turn into a different direction. Erie County Council had put this ordinance in place. Originally, it was at 25%. It was increased to 50%, and then again to 75%. It has been suggested to council that we should leave this particular issue alone and stay out of the business and the policies of the prison. And I don't sit here and claim to be an expert in prison policy, nor do I want to interfere with the great job that those that serve us in the prison are doing. But in this particular case, this was a county council ordinance that was passed, and therefore it is our business. And if it's a situation that could put this county at financial loss, at financial risk, it is our business. And I believe we have the business to look at all of the policies that we put into place and from time to time make those adjustments. Not only do I feel that the 75% of the money that is taken from these prisoners is immoral, but I stand with my fellow council members, particular Council Andre Horton, who is not trying to eliminate these fees, but reduce them to an area that is fair and just. We're not reducing other fees that are placed on prisoners because of behavioral modification tools. We are not trying to reduce or eliminate the sentences or costs imposed by the courts or the fees of the daily rate to stay in the prison. We are simply asking to reduce the amount of tax that is being given to the inmates when they put money on their books. Now, mind you, at this 75% rate, all of the inmates then still have to pay the other fees that are imposed, the other penalties that are imposed. Never mind the fact that we have commissary items that are charged at 500% to inmates. Never mind the fact that they're charged to for each day that they're incarcerated. Never mind the fact that there's also a fee imposed in addition to the 75% to them, which reduces the amount of money that they have to spend even more. I believe that this issue even rises to a changing tide in this country where, under the excessive clauses of the Bill of Rights, the federal government has primarily taken the lead. But in 2013, a court case in Indiana changed that. And it has moved the excessive clause in the Bill of Rights away from the federal government and to the individual discretion of each state. Therefore, the state of Pennsylvania will begin to look at these particular ways in which we charge our prisoners. And for a community who believes in the progressive thinking ideas of reentry programs, and we've spent money in doing that and giving the court system many other tools to sentence offenders, and we've spent millions of dollars to give offenders second chance. This is an outrage in this particular ordinance, and I continue to stand for it to be reduced or eliminated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a quick comment. The defense of this proposal, or the original vote, was like a lot of other things that come down from above, and it seemed to lack in a lot of information. Only kind of hand-pick information did they give us. They couldn't define cost versus fines. They explained this as some kind of behavior modification, and I still can't understand how taking money from a prisoner that their relatives give them while they're in prison. Actually, they do help to pay for some of these costs and fines, but to take 75% of that money, it just doesn't make any sense to me that that is in some way going to make them behave better. And I really have a hard time trying to figure out what's the difference between stealing and taking. If somebody's in there for stealing, then why is the prison then taking away money that their relatives gave them? And I got to say, I was really on the fence last time about my vote, and at the last minute I decided, and it was actually Carol Law's prayer that made me decide. I can't really pray and then decide to condemn somebody. It just doesn't make any sense. And how can anybody ask for guidance from God and then do that? And that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Rastatt. Are any other comments from members of council? Well, of course I have. Man, I was pleased and I'm proud to stand with my colleagues who supported this, because I know it's the right thing to do. We're in a time when we talk about prison reform, criminal justice reform. Even here in the county, Erie County, we talk a lot about reentry, how we want to provide better opportunities for those who come out. All that sounds loving. Doesn't anything about this sound loving? I appreciate your comments, because I was sitting here thinking, like, this ain't Christian. Not that God has anything to do with government, although a lot of times I know that it should. This reminds me of, takes me back to a time in days gone by, in a past that no one wants to relive. Takes us back to indentured servitude, blacks and poor whites had to work for the freedom, work off their debt. Many times in situations where they were not really even given a fair trial, fair share. Support people's tax, because this don't affect rich people. And it disproportionately affects people of color, because we all know who's incarcerated in the prison. People of color are incarcerated in numbers that are way out of whack from the percentages represent the population that we make up. It's a money grab. We inquire as to what's the difference in fees and fines. How much property was damaged? We asked our controller to find out. Sent 3 letters, still weren't able to get any clarity. We had to ask our finance people today what the clarity was. They're charged for your analysis, anger management, all the other services that we offer citizens of the county, prison there. It's just I still don't know if it's a fine or a fee, but there's just some money. Take some money. I think it's immoral what we're doing. It's cruel and unusual. And I'm not speaking from a hypothetical. I'm speaking from as a parent who had someone incarcerated. Speaking as a parent who was going down there and putting money on my child to see him get $22.50 off of a $100 deposit that a loved one placed. Oh, I know you're thinking, well, that's not 25%. Well, no, it's not. They charge you $250 to process it. It's a money grab. when this thing was adopted back in 2013, I think prison carried debt like $69,000. They say, oh, we're not going to go after them to collect it after they're gone. We'll just carry that debt. But that debt's not $69,000. Now that debt's up to about $3 million uncollected debt that we'll never collect. That's just in like 5 or 6 years. So what happens to that $3 million in 5 or 6 more years? We'll carry $6 more million of uncollectible debt. And we'll send the prisoners out of there even though we won't collect it with the stigma of having, oh, I owe money. I see parents in the community that I didn't even think paid attention to county council. And they stop me on the street and in Walmart and say thank you. It's hard to go down there and put money on our kids' book when we know where it's going. It's not a personal attack on the warden, because I think Warden Sylvie does a fairly good job, decent job. I think his men and women up the county and corrections overall do a pretty good job. But I know that there's a problem with compassion. And usually the tone is set at the top. So when the warden comes in and says that prisoners don't need anything else from the outside, we supply everything they need. They don't need no extra. We give them everything they need. The hair stood up on my neck. Talk about it as a behavioral modification. I thought that's what we paid the COs to do. I thought that's what we paid them and gave them wages, fringe benefits to do. Monitor behavior. No one can tell me what the percentages mean when they tell me, oh, prisoner officer assaults are down by such as, is that down from 5 to 3 or 4 to 2? Prison has a compassion problem. We've seen it with a young man who was there for $750. Child support. We just settled that lawsuit. Behavioral modification probably should have been on the guards, not the inmate. So this, we'll bring this to a vote. I'm pleased this punch. I'm so proud of my colleagues. Because this wasn't a partisan, this is no partisan issue. It's not partisan legislation. Hell, even Kim Kardashian and President Trump are on the bandwagon. So it just befuddles me when I see the whole nation, albeit the whole world, talking about criminal justice reform. It befuddles me when I think about the money that they're being asked for us to spend on reentry. It befuddles me when I see the Unified Erie, when we spend $500,000 a year on an adult scared straight program. It befuddles me. We call it the call-in strategy. It befuddles me. And as an African American male, who's blessed not to be caught up in the cradle to prison pipeline, because that's what it's known for in our neighborhoods. So when we don't have opportunities like community colleges, quality affordable education, to lift us up out of circumstances or certain situations, we put them on a hamster wheel. We say we want to help them when they get out. We treat them inhumanely while they're there. Most of the people there with mental health illness. Now, hell, they care if you take it. Excuse me. What do they care? If you're taking money for behavioral modification, don't monitor him if he's not getting his meds, his medication. You could take the whole 100%. It won't modify anything. It's immoral. I'm so disappointed to live in a democracy. Disappointed the Democrats. Disappointed the Democrats. At every level of government. We're the party, Democrats are supposed to be the party of opportunity, of another chance, of redemption, of rehabilitation, of reconciliation, not condemnation. Where's the hope in that? So let's call for the question.
On the motion to override the veto, Mrs. Fatika?
No.
Dr. Faust?
No.
Mrs. Lal?
No.
Mr. Rastetter?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Chairman Horton?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay. Okay, motion failed. Let's go to the next one. New business, item 8, first reading of ordinance number 74. Please.
First reading of ordinance number 74, 2019, amending the Administrative Code of Erie County, PA Library Services Department and Library Board.
Item B, second reading of ordinance number 75.
Mr.
Chairman, we haven't amended the agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to move that we amend the agenda, ordinance number 75, the second reading.
Yeah, we have
Second.
a second. It's been properly moved and seconded by Ms. Councilwoman Fatika and Councilman Anderson. Ready for the vote?
On the motion, Dr. Faust?
Yes.
Mrs. Lal?
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fatika?
Yes.
Chairman Horton?
Yes. If you're following along with the agenda, you see that almost $250,000 that we just approved. That's just pass-through money. It's no county dollars. Item C, resolution.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, God, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's have the reading of second reading of ordinance number 75 in title only.
A second reading of ordinance number 75, 2019, 28th, 2019 General Fund Budget, supplemental appropriation of $249,966, creation of bureau and line items for PCCD grant, gun violence and reduction award.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded by Councilpersons Fatika and Anderson. Call for the vote.
On ordinance number 75, Mrs. Lal?
I'm sorry, you're asking me, I apologize, I wasn't paying attention.
No, sir. Actually, I'm asking for Mrs. Lal.
It's her fault.
Sorry about that.
We'll get through.
So on ordinance number 75, Mrs. Lal?
My turn? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Rastetter?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Fatika?
Yes.
Dr. Faust?
Yes.
Chairman Horton?
Yes. Item C, resolution number 37, title only.
Resolution number 37, 2019, repeal of resolution number 62 of 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded by Councilwoman Fatika, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes, last Thursday when we had the meeting, we discussed, of course I see there's an ordinance companion with this too, but we discussed as to whether this was something that should happen or not because of the Planning Commission and the way they were formed and why they were formed, and made this decision. And there were, if you look at ordinance number 62, it was a 7-0 vote, so we did vote it in. But I did contact the department head for planning, Hani Stemka, and her response was, what is being put forth is in compliance with the administrative code and the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, Act 247, to which whatever is being proposed is ultimately accountable. So I will be voting yes for this due to the fact that that was researched and by the Planning Commission, they're okay with it.
Thank you, Councilman Law. Any other comments from members of the council? I'll make a couple of comments really quick. I'll be supporting this, obviously. I just think that whenever the administrative code or the home rule charter gives authority to this legislative body, that we should never, ever, 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 never, ever give it away. Through our not being diligent, I guess it was something that slipped through, and this resolution will write things and put it in alignment with the home rule charter and the administrative code. Please. Any other comments? Call for the vote.
On resolution number 37, Mr. Rastatter,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Fatika,
Yes.
Dr. Faust,
Yes.
Mrs. Lal,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes. Okay, item D. First reading of ordinance number 76, 2019. Title only.
A first reading of ordinance number 76, 2019, amendment to the Administrative Code, Article 2, Section 5IV, 3B, amendment to the bylaws of the Erie County Planning Commission, Article 2 and Article 3.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
without objection, we move to approve the reappointment of Trevor Pearson to the Erie County Library Advisory Board, which is my appointment, and the reappointment of Felix Lovitai, I apologize if I mispronounced that, to a 3-year term on the Erie County Library Board at 2 o'clock.
Been properly moved. Yes, sir.
Second.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Faust, seconded by Councilman Anderson. Any discussion? Let's call for the vote.
On the appointments, Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Fatika,
Yes.
Dr. Faust,
Yes.
Mrs. Lal,
Yes.
Mr. Rastatter,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the sale of parcels from the repository according to the index number listed in our agenda tonight.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded by Councilman Faust, seconded by Councilwoman Law. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
On the sale of parcel, Mrs. Fatika,
Yes.
Dr. Faust,
Yes.
Mrs. Lal,
Yes.
Mr. Rastatter,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Chairman Horton.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, move to adjourn.
Meet adjourned. All is well.